Hello, everyone. Welcome to this panel slash webinar discussion about From Idea to Impact soft skill workshop for entrepreneurs. We know that in the dynamic world of entrepreneurship, business acumen, tech savviness, and industry know-how are vital and important, but the importance of soft skills can be understated. Therefore, today we were planning to have a fun session that mixes the understanding, the practical understanding and the more experiential kind of knowing what soft skills are about. So with me today, it's Rachel Warnick, who is the Chief Program Officer at Professors Without Borders and the General Secretary of SADC Green Wall CSO Network. She is also a co-founder owned Mindscape Educational Consultancy. She is a National Geographic Certified Educator and Teach SDG as Ambassador, and the 2022 NGO Whisperer Social Impact Fellow. Wow, Rachel, this is a lot of very impressive positions, but you also have a strong passion for social soft skills, which I'm going to ask you to maybe introduce a little bit to our audience. So could you please let us know why soft skills?
Thank you so much, Kasia. It's great to be here. And yeah, you're right. I am very passionate about soft skills. I think that they underpin everything that we do in both our personal and professional lives. And unfortunately, they're so rarely taught explicitly. These are all things that we're just supposed to magically acquire through osmosis. And you know, some people will have opportunities to learn it. Some of the skills will come naturally. But you know, if you don't fall into any of these groups, and it's not true of every skill, you know, you can potentially be left behind in some areas. So you know, they're absolutely vital for careers, for personal relationships, for entrepreneurship, for just about everything we do. And so I'm a very big proponent of people having opportunities to learn and develop these explicitly.
Wow, that's a very good introduction to soft skills. So thank you for that. It's maybe worth to say that 2023 is the European Year of Skills. And the European Union defined the skills, the relevance of the skills as to promote investment in training and upskilling. So to make it more inclusive and more appropriate for the European workforce of the future. And it's also, there is the idea of supporting individual in transitioning between different jobs. The European Union would like to make sure that there is a skill relevance, that they would like to collaborate with social partners and companies to ensure that the skills align with the labor market. So because there is a big skills mismatch between skills and opportunities. And I think when we're looking at the entrepreneurship and, you know, what makes a good entrepreneur, the soft skills become very relevant. We can say that the soft skills are lifeblood of personal and societal progress, and therefore it's very necessary to know what skills will be the skills that help us succeed. So for today, this is basically what is the idea of this experiential session, is to kind of share, you know, how the soft skills in the quest for entrepreneurship and the responsible businesses and succeeding in the future, how they can be used and embed in that. And I will leave you with Rachel, who has a lot of experience in those type of trainings. Rachel, maybe you want to share some of the recent trainings that you did for the entrepreneurs, just like a
yes.
small case.
Thank you. So I've had a couple of beautiful opportunities recently in Africa. In the early part of the year, I worked with a group in eastern Uganda, where we were delivering soft skills training to SME entrepreneurs and their employees. And in fact, we were training the trainers so that that would be ongoing. The trainers came from a finance program that helps these young startups. And so they, in their post-investment support program, they wanted to continue delivering the training that would help these SMEs grow and develop further, and give really great career opportunities and personal development opportunities to the staff employed in those. So, we're covering all the things that we're going to talk about today. And then I had another beautiful opportunity in Swatini, formerly known as Swaziland, where I worked with teen mums who were just about to start their journey as micropreneurs. So different geographic context, different cultural context, and a different community. But they equally need these skills to leverage for what they're doing, and to succeed in their goals.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. And I think it's no point of keeping our audience waiting anymore. So I will share my screen, and I would welcome you to start.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Kasia, and welcome to everybody who's here. I don't have eyes on who's in the room, but I want to welcome each of you and thank you all for joining. If you're an entrepreneur, you probably already have a sense of the need for many of these skills. Kasia, we can go on to the next slide, please. You've already heard a bit about me. So what I'd like to do, I'm going to, we could go to the next slide. I'm going to drop a link in the chat box. And I'd just like to get your views here. I'm assuming I have access. Yes, I do. I have access to the chat box. So here in the chat box, there's a link to a Mentimeter poll. And I'd like to see if I could get your views, please. There's 2 questions on there. So just click the link. You don't need to have the app on your phone if you haven't already got it. And just input your answers. Let's see. Okay. So you should see 2 questions. Thank you. I've seen some answers already. Thank you. So 3 soft skills that have been essential to your career success. I've got, yes, open mind, relationships, courage, wonderful. And then, well, here, they always take a few minutes, a second to come in. Great, great. And then on the second slide, please feel free to do both of these right away. So the 3 soft skills that have been essential to your personal career success, and a little vote on to what extent you learned these soft skills in your formal education, wherever that was, whatever type of formal education that was. But I am talking about contexts like schools, universities, colleges, anything that is basically an institution. So please go ahead. You should have access to both of those slides, and I'll just give it 1 more minute. I'm going to guess I've seen some results for the first slide, but not for the second slide. And so I apologize in case you're having difficulty accessing it. I'll come back now to the first slide. You've given answers such as empathy and humor, communication. So I think you're really capturing some of the essential skills that we have to look at and master for success. Kasia, if you're there, could I have the next slide, please? So Dr. Dirk van Dam is the head of the Center for Education Research Institute at the OECD. OECD has been for more than a decade now, really talking about this idea of the necessity of skills, the soft skills that we're talking about today. And he himself says that hard skills may get you hired, but it's the soft skills that get you fired. And we'll kind of look at how that holds true. Could I have the next slide, please, Kasia? So very interestingly, as early as 1918, there was a study conducted by Harvard University, Carnegie Foundation, and Stanford Research Center, so three really big names. And they found that approximately 85% of success is due to soft skills, and only 15% is the technical skills. So technical is obviously, if you're an engineer, then it's the engineering side of it. If you're a doctor, it's the medical side. If you are a plumber, it's the mechanical side. But that really only has been accounted for a very small percentage, and other research since that time, since 100 years ago, has held up more or less the same figures. And I think it's really worth noting the next part here, because we are in an era of very rapid change. So as the impact of AI and disruptive technology grows, candidates that can perform tasks that machines cannot become more valuable. So if anything, this 85% is set to potentially grow even higher, okay? And that's according to Harvard Business Review. Thank you, Kasia. Okay, and so Simon Sinek, who many of us will have heard of, I really like what he says here. He rejects this idea of soft skills, which is what they've been called for so long. There is nothing soft about them. I personally like to call them core skills. I believe they're at the core of everything that we do. He likes to call them human skills, which is, we'll see very soon how that also works. And we need more human skills in business today. So connect this back to what Harvard Business Review was saying about the rise of AI and technology, and it coordinates perfectly. Kasia, next slide, please. Okay, so I'd like to get your views on what soft skills are. Oh, sorry, excuse me. What we should do is first define what soft skills are. Next slide, please. So there's a few bullet points here. They're very intangible, okay? They're not specific to one job or career. They underpin virtually everything that everyone does everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're in Beijing or Buenos Aires. Doesn't matter if you're a doctor or a mechanic. These are skills that you're going to need to succeed in what you're doing. They're not technical. We're not talking about the hard, quote unquote, hard skills that you need to do to physically or mentally do your job, okay? They're difficult to measure or quantify, right? You know, do we give degrees in some of these? Not necessarily, although that's things are evolving. And they are also called power skills, essential skills, or core skills, or human skills, as Simon Sinek says. All right. So next slide, please. There's a renowned author and coach called Peggy Klaus, and she's worked with clients, top-level clients such as Credit Suisse, Disney, and UNICEF. And she says soft skills get little respect, although I hope that's changing now, but they will make or break your career. So let's now look at how many soft skills you can identify or what you might consider soft skills. So I'm going to go back into the chat and I'll drop one more link for the Mentimeter. And I'd like you just to please, I believe it's just one question. How many, just name as many as you can in 1 minute. So I will set the timer for a minute. Please go ahead and just drop as many as you want in there. And I will say, don't worry about getting anything wrong, so to speak. There are lots of, there are lots of different components to soft skills. There is, there's no single defined list, but it's very interesting. I think we'll get a general feel for what they are. So we have about another 30 seconds. And I think that I can see some coming through. One way to think of it is, what are the skills that you've been using in your career that aren't strictly technical or knowledge based? Okay, I think Mentimeter is a little slow for me today. So rather than keep you, oh, wonderful, it's just popped up. So, oh, great, we've got a lovely list here. We've got leadership, creativity, understanding, communication, empathy, humor, flexibility, teamwork, decision-making, emotional intelligence, deep listening, being mindful, and resilience. So, oh, lovely. Yeah, they're still coming in. Update information, relationship, stakeholder, yeah, values, mindset, deep listening. Wow, thank you so much. These are some, you're really getting into the crux of what soft skills are. And that's fantastic. I'm gonna let that feed through a little bit more. And I'll ask Kathy. Thank you, Kasha. So you have identified many of these. These are just some, these are kind of, I like to think of these as buckets. There could be sort of subcategories within each of them, but there are the personal ones, and then there's the interpersonal. So in terms of you yourself or us, we ourselves, there's the critical thinking, creativity, resilience, adaptability, and time management. And of course, interpersonal, communication, collaboration, conflict resolution, leadership, networking. And I think that there's a phrase, there's a quotation from Charles Darwin that I think applies really beautifully here. He once said, "It is not the strongest or the most intelligent who will survive, but those who can best manage change." Now, we live in an era of potentially unprecedented change. You think about what has been happening since the start of COVID, and even before, how change is now multiplying exponentially. And these soft skills are these are required to manage the changes, whether it's personally or professionally. So Kasha, please do feel free to go on to the next slide. The OECD, who I constantly tap back to, they frame it in these ways here in 3 categories. So cognitive and metacognitive, I think learning to learn That's a very important one. People learn in different ways, and we haven't always been, we're never taught how to learn. We're just expected to show up and do it. So I think that this is a hugely important skill. And self-regulation, a lot of the emotional, social, emotional, the time management, self-management, etc., comes in there. Then we have the social and emotional bracket. These all tying back to many of the things that you guys put on the Mentimeter, which is fantastic. And of course, then the practical and physical, which we're not so much talking about today. These are the ones that you are taught. Life skills by your family, manual skills, you may, how to operate a computer, how to, it could even be things as, how to repair an engine, how to perform surgery, and then mobility skills. So this cognitive and metacognitive, social and emotional, they correspond with what we're talking about here today. So let's go on. Thank you, Kasia. So why are we talking about this specifically in the context of entrepreneurship? Well, another wise mind, Tom Frank, who's the executive director at the University of Michigan Center for Entrepreneurship, you can see what he's said there. For some entrepreneurs, soft skills are more important than what they create or build. And I really feel very strongly about this. You could, if Steve Jobs had created Apple, but it wasn't communicated, even initially communicated to potential investors, or, in the early days to potential customers, how would it ever have gotten off the ground? You start a business and you want to scale up. You're going to be taking on employees. You need to learn how to lead them. You need to learn how to develop a team, ensure that your team works cohesively. You need to manage conflict. So all of these are very key. In terms specifically for these skills, communication is crucial for pitching ideas, negotiating deals, and building a strong team. Collaboration, startups thrive on teamwork and a shared vision. Collaboration is the key to success. Leadership, entrepreneurs need to inspire and to lead their teams toward a common goal. Critical thinking is essential for making strategic decisions and for navigating uncertainties. Oh, yeah, we can go to that one, Kasia. This actually lays it out beautifully. So yeah, here, the specific links with each of the skills that we were looking at. Creativity, you need to innovate as an entrepreneur. Creative thinking leads to unique solutions. Time management is massively important, and yet we're often never taught how to do this. Entrepreneurs have to juggle numerous tasks, numerous competing excuse me, I've lost the word, numerous competing priorities. And also, they need to ensure productivity. Conflict resolution, you need to be able to resolve conflicts quickly and diplomatically to maintain a healthy work environment. Resilience, gosh, this is one of possibly the most important ones. Startups face ups and downs. Okay? Resilience ensures the ability to bounce back from setbacks. Networking, obviously, building a strong network opens doors to opportunities and collaborations. And adaptability, because the business landscape changes constantly. It is a survival skill. I'm going to check the chat. Excuse me, I forgot to say this at the beginning, but if anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to drop them in, and I will check in on that regularly. And we might have time, we should have time at the end if there are any questions. So I have three examples of successful entrepreneurs And I want to look at how the soft skills have played an important role. So Steve Jobs is one that pretty much most people know. How has communication helped? Well, let's look at when he introduced the MacBook Air. He pulled it out of a standard interoffice envelope. Okay, this is not even spoken communication. All right, this was gestural communication. That single act created a memorable and relatable moment that resonated with the audience. In terms of leadership, instead of diving into technical details, he would focus on how the device allowed users to carry. This is not the leadership. This is not the leadership one. I'm still talking about communications. When communicating with his audiences, he didn't tell them that it had this bit chip and that specification. He told them what the device was going to do for them, how it would impact them, what was the benefit to them. Okay, immediately creating that connection with his audiences. And for both leadership and for creativity, he challenged his teams to create, for example, for the iPod, he challenged the team to create a device that could fit in a pocket, but hold an entire music library. And so he set this ambitious vision to push the boundaries, and he led his team there. Next slide, please. So Jack Ma, also another very well-known and very successful entrepreneur. He has consistently demonstrated leadership by empowering employees and fostering a culture of innovation within Alibaba. He encourages a very flat organizational structures so that ideas can come from anyone, anywhere, irrespective of their position. This has led to the development of products, innovative products and services. Okay, adaptability. Gosh, I mean, he's had to have that, right? He's steered them into diverse business ventures beyond the initial e-commerce focus. Okay, he recognizes the changing landscape and changing consumer needs. He expanded into cloud computing, digital entertainment, and more. And so it's assured their continued relevance in a dynamic market. And finally, the resilience. He has faced regulatory challenge in various markets, including China. And so he's had to use his resilience to address these challenges, adapt to changing regulations, working collaboratively with authorities, etc., to find mutually beneficial solutions. And the next one is a wonderful young woman from Ethiopia. If anyone is aware of my incorrect pronunciation, please forgive me. Bethlehem Tilahun Elemu. She is the founder and executive director of Soul Rebels, which is Africa's fastest growing footwear company. Now, talk about creativity. She revolutionized the traditional pose. Excuse me. All right, I'm tripping over my own tongue right now. She revolutionized the traditional approach to shoemaking by incorporating recycled and locally sourced materials. Okay, so completely new. I believe tires form part of the process, but I believe there's others as well, other components. Empathy. So she built Soul Rebels with a strong focus on community engagement. They employ local artisans, they provide fair wages, they provide training opportunities. So the company empowers communities and contributes to the socioeconomic development of the regions where the business operates. And in terms of communication, she communicates effectively the values of Soul Rebels, emphasizing not just the products, but the stories behind them. involves sharing the rich cultural heritage of Ethiopia, and the brand's commitment to sustainability and social impact. So this has really resonated with consumers, created a strong brand identity, and it has forged an emotional connection between the company and its customers. So those are three very, very prominent examples of how soft skills have played an enormous role in huge success. So absolutely, I absolutely agree with this. Your technical skills may get you the job, but it's your soft skills that can make or break your career. So how do we build these? All right, well, that's a good question. We have a short exercise. I'd like to invite you all to do it. Kasha, yes, thank you. So you may have encountered some version of this. This type of puzzle it's a little example of how we teach at Mindscape. It's not just about lecturing, which, because of the format of this event, I have been doing for the last 10 minutes. But we're very interactive. And why are we very interactive? Because building soft skills, and we'll see this in a few moments, building soft skills, the doing is imperative. And so what I'm going to ask you now is just to take a look. We'll move to the next slide with the information you need. And please drop your thoughts, drop your answers into the chat box as you do this. So here we go. This is the scenario. A farmer goes to market and he buys a wolf, a sheep, and a cabbage. Going home, the farmer has to cross a river by boat. But the boat will only hold the farmer and one other thing. So two things are always going to be left on the other side of the river. Now, if they cross over and the wolf is left with the goat, the wolf will eat the goat naturally. If they cross the river and leave the goat alone with the cabbage, the goat, of course, is going to eat the cabbage. So how can the farmer get all three of these safely across the river? Now, please don't sit, if you're thinking about this, drop your thought process into the chat box. Let us know. Share the answer, or share your ideas, or share how you would approach this. Because while this seems like a simple children's riddle, activities like this really exercise the brain and brings up and builds up quite a few of these skills. So in this particular instance, you need to flex your critical thinking and creativity muscles. And I see that, thank you, Miroslav. The chat is open. Yes, chat is open here. Ask a question, even ask a question about this. Let me know how you would solve the problem. This is tricky. I'm not used to not seeing or hearing my fellow Zoomers. So I think maybe the chat is the only way I can know you exist. So please drop a thought or an answer in here. Is anyone out there? Leave the wolf with the cabbage. Yeah, that's a good start. They're safe together. Thank you, Zana. If you've seen this before, you can just drop a message to say, oh, I know the answer already. You know, this puzzle, again, while it's very childlike, you know, it does represent a type of problem that you can face, you know, in real life and in entrepreneurship, where you know you're looking at competing priorities, or you're looking at conflicting outcomes or such, and so it's building the muscles that you would use in those circumstances. All right. Thank you to Zana. I think maybe some of you are still thinking. Excuse me, I'm just going to cough. Thank you. What I'll do, because this is not a test or anything or an exam, I'll just, before we move on, I'll let you know. Absolutely. Zana, you were definitely on the right track with that. The farmer should first take the goat across and leave the wolf with the cabbage, right? Then the farmer comes back and takes either the cabbage or the wolf, it doesn't matter, brings the cabbage or wolf across, leaves it there, and brings back the goat, okay? Then brings, so say the farmer brought the wolf, then it took back the goat, then it'll bring the cabbage, then it'll come back empty, and then the farmer will bring back the goat. All right. So there's a lot of, yeah, you have to, there's a little bit of puzzle. There's in this puzzle, you have to move the pieces around, and you know, just like many of you entrepreneurs out there know, entrepreneurship is exactly like that. So again, building and flexing those muscles. I'm being mindful of time now, so I'm going to move on. Normally, in our sessions, we would have the time to go through that. Often work in pairs or teams, because that really helps build teamwork and collaboration skills, and also helps idea generation. And then we would hold a debrief. And here are some examples. Because the doing is not enough. There's the meta learning. You need to sort of unpack what happened and why. So we could, in this case, we could ask questions like, how did you come up with your solution? And what were the challenges that you faced while you were doing the activity? And how did you feel, right? Were you frustrated? Were you excited? Why was that, okay? Is this something that you feel when you encounter, you know, similar problems in your day-to-day business? If you're unable to solve the problem, does this mean that you failed? Here, we've got the social and emotional learning here. And then how can you apply this? So it's not enough just to do it. It's what did we do? How did we do it? And then how do we take that forward and can make that very strong connection with day-to-day professional life, with entrepreneurship, with our careers? So in the final few minutes, I'll just continue on that same vein. So Mindscape, what we do, we offer training and courses. As you can see, I've just skimmed the surface of it, but this is not about lecturing. This is role play, it's exercises, it's experiential learning. We use movement, we use music, art, everything, whatever. There's so many techniques to make learning very engaging, because once learning is engaging, it's sticky, right? We retain it so much more. And of course, the practical application is essential. There's no point in learning something for the sake of learning it. You need to connect it back. Reflection, as we did, and each experience is tailored precisely for the client. So as you heard earlier, my work in Uganda and my work in Swatini this year, while they were in the same stratosphere, they were two very different approaches, because that's what the clients needed. So I do invite you on the last slide there, please connect with us on LinkedIn. Please reach out to us if you have any questions at all, or if you need more information, or if you ever just want to talk soft skills, because clearly I am a big fan.
muted after 2 years of like I never unmute myself. So Rachel, thank you very much. I think it was a really great introduction to what the soft skills are and their relevance, and how to make a how to be creative with the approaches that we should be having while approaching especially the soft skills. And as our time is finished, I would like to thank you for having this difficult task of actually having a workshop that is not so so much interactive, but you still made it very interactive. And I would like to thank our participants for being here with us. Maybe we can, I will launch a short survey. If you can just fill it in for us to evaluate the session, that would be very helpful. And yet again, thank you very much for joining Social Finance Vibe. We are providing a lot of exciting sessions, so I hope you stay with us. And Rachel, big thank you to you for your time and sharing with us the knowledge. And I hope that to see all of you very, very soon.